And now let's chat about Spawn, because we got to. Comic fam, this is insane. Okay, so this is what happened. Key Collector Comics.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, do it.
The other day when you called me to prep for the show, I was on the way out the house. I was getting in my car to start driving. I was going to get food. And Tom, we're prepping the show, and Tom dumps this whole Spawn story on me. And I'm like, parked outside waiting to go through the drive-thru.
Were you waiting? Like you didn't want to go through the drive-thru yet?
I didn't want to order food while I'm on I'm paying attention. Let me get this and this and this and this,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so this is what's crazy, comic fam.
It's a cool story.
It's a great story because it shows you what happens behind the scenes a little bit, specifically Key Collector Comics, and how important it is to keep up on the marketplace in the way that this gentleman and team does over there. So
shout out Nick.
Shout out Nick Calanese. We love you over here. So we have this comic book to tell you about. Spawn. Issue number 306. 306.
Looks like it. Yep.
Looks like it. This is the variant NetherRealms Mortal Kombat DLC game edition. All right. This is a variant that a lot of people don't know about because it was intended for distribution in 2020 during the final Mortal Kombat live gaming competition that was held in Chicago that was canceled because of the pandemic. All right. So what was interesting is that there was apparently a $2,500 sale for this comic book. Hot damn. That is insane.
So they printed all of these as they were intended to give out to the people fighting in this video game tournament that got canceled.
And individuals there. Like it was supposed to be a promotional thing, giving them away.
But then they canceled the event, but they still have all these comics made.
So that's the question. What happened to these comic books? So first off, this was an alert done by Key Collector, and he titled it a cautionary alert. This was an alert that wasn't to tell you, look how expensive this book is selling for. No, on the contrary, it was this book is selling for an amount that seems high for the information that we know. And that's why I wanted to bring it to the mic, because what's happened over the last 2 weeks as it pertains to Key Collector Comics, Spawn, the McFarlane team, and the convention house that hosted this whole thing, or at least that was planning on hosting it, is amazing. So Key Collector sends out the alert, cautionary alert. This book was supposed to have been given away. We have no word on what happened to it because the convention was shut down. No one attended. So how are individuals getting this and who has them? Because you have to assume if none of them were given away, they're all together.
Right.
They could all be in one box. Does one person have these? Like that's some of the things that starts to come up, you start to think about, wait a minute. Are these prices inflated? Is someone or a team or someone doing something to try to make the most money they can on a book that shouldn't sell for the amounts that it's going for because of this artificial scarcity?
In theory, if whoever might have this stash were to release the entire stash all at once online, the price would drop because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, everyone has it, right?
So you're saying if they trickle them out one by one or some small number to kind of make sure the scarcity makes the price high, is what you're saying, like some kind of manipulation?
Exactly.
Okay.
So currently there are 2 copies graded on the census at 9.8, 1 copy at a 9.6, a 9.2, a 9.0, and an 8.5. That is it. So in over, now going on 2 years now, there's only been a handful of copies that were graded. We've been told of sales that exceed $2,500. This is the recipe for something possibly wrong or something glorious to have taken place. Either we have one of the scarcest, most collectible Spawn McFarlane comics that's ever been created, or we don't, and one person is arbitrarily moving the needle on the market. Now, how do we figure this out? Well, Key Collector did, and kudos to Nick and team over there. So they reached out after communicating the information as Key Collector knew it, reached out to McFarlane's team for a response, and they provided a response. That is something that seldomly happens. Like publishers communicating back and forth, especially with like the collector's market. The aftermarket, the secondary market, eBay sales, and what we do here, like the variant market, like all of us that collect expensive paper, they address us, you know, they like to know we're there. They rely on us, definitely as a community. Like we're a big part of the foundation of the damn comic market, but they don't really like to, you know, they know we're there, but they're not really looking to like collaborate.
Sure.
To talk, you know, it's like, hey, you guys do your thing. We'll do our thing. We'll keep making the comics. You guys keep buying the comics and we'll just kind of go our separate paths, but we're working together. It's kind of a weird thing, but I've been doing this for 4 years. I've experienced it head on multiple times, right? So this was McFarlane's response about this Spawn giveaway. McFarlane teams, rather. So this was a small event to begin with. Only a couple hundred issues were produced. Interesting. We now have a proximate print count. Hot damn. Telling us the information. I love it. It was canceled to the public, but it was still held in private for the players. What we were told is that less than 50 copies were distributed by the event organizers to the players and their plus ones. Okay, so if there's 50,
it went out to some people.
Some people got this. The rest, along with all other free swag, was trashed due to the cost of shipping it back to the McFarlane offices. We have worked with them before, so there is no reason to believe that this was not the case. I know the guys on some of the Spawn groups are pretty relentless when it comes to rare Spawn issues, and I know several of them reached out to the players themselves to get a copy. I think it would be fair to say that less than 50 copies exist out in the wild at this point. I hope this helps. The conclusion by Key Collector Comics is summarized as the following. It is difficult to determine how many of these exist, but chances are that it is one of the scarcest variants considering it was going to be given away at an event that was to take place at the Park West Theater in Chicago. Key Collector Nick Colonese did the research, contacted the Chicago event to find out that it has an occupancy max of 1,000 individuals. That gives you an idea. McFarlane's camp saying there's only a few hundred. There could only be at max 1,000 people. During pandemic, it would have been even lower. Thus, stars are aligning here. I've said that a couple times. We have possibly one of the rarest Spawn exclusives that's ever been created. Or we don't.
When you told this to me the other day, I was mostly listening. The rest of me was thinking like Taco Bell.
What did you order from Taco Bell, Ryan?
I was right there in the parking lot the whole time. Like,
Well, dude, like this is how this kind of thing comes up because we have a particular situation that happens often where sometimes something is worth a lot of money and sometimes it's not. And that's completely dependent on distribution and what exists. And that information is like seldomly available to the public. So whenever something like this is discovered, I'll bring you back to another Spawn story when McFarlane joined me on the mic and we were talking about Spawn 1 and he talked about the error in Spawn 1 on the inside cover where the logo was kind of messed up. And he's like, oh, I remember that error. I remember seeing it off the printer going, stop the print. This is screwed up. You need to fix this. And then it was like half the run got fixed. Him saying
Who's
that.
even going to notice? Screw it.
Here's the thing. A lot of people didn't notice.
Yeah, I never know.
When he went back on the mic to talk about it with me, all we saw for weeks after are people looking for that printing error because they knew this happened first. These were the first in the print run. McFarlane said it was half or less, maybe a little more, plus or minus 10, but it was near half. Had he said, oh, it was the first 20%, it would have been completely different. And people would be grading these things in mass. They would be requesting CG2C to put it on the label. They would sell it for double the amount. They're not, rightfully so, because, you know, it's about half the print run. It's the same print run, so it doesn't really matter. But people still gave a crap. They still wanted to have both copies because they are different. So whenever we find more info out about how a comic book came to market, I find it fascinating because so many runs, variants, giveaways, they have a story. And sometimes the story is so intriguing that it like kind of adds to its excitement and makes it more collectible.
Like the, what was it, that Spider-Man book that girlfriend wrote on that we talked about forever ago?
Yeah,
you know, of a book that has a story to it.
There's a lot of them, man. I mean, like this D23 variant. You know, this was given away. You know, I have it up here. You can't see it on the screen, but the sketch variant. It was given away at the D23 event during the first convention post the acquisition by Disney of Marvel Comics. Or acquisition of Marvel by Disney.
It's only a matter of time before Mickey shows up in the MCU.
Mickey's actually going to be in the next book of Boba.
Right.
Yeah, if you didn't know. Comic fam, we've talked about comic books. Shout out to Key Collector Comics for doing this analysis of Spawn 306, the giveaway. Keep an eye out for it. Apparently, according to McFarlane's team, under 60, 50 even made it out there, and the rest were tossed. It could have been a few hundred copies. It could have been upwards of 1,000 copies. I bet it was closer to the lower amount. But regardless, information coming out to the community is best.
Super small print run.
Very small.